Hi, this is Ben Hart. I've just finished a tough day's work at my real business, which is marketing consulting. I've now had dinner, and I'm sitting out here on the porch listening to the rain falling just a few feet away. I've opened up a bottle of wine. Cheers. If you heard my rant yesterday, you know about the dismal economy, the dismal economic numbers that were released just Friday by the Labor Department. Now, when these disastrous economic numbers were released on Friday, Obama, of course, as you'd expect, ran to the microphones and tried to put the best face on it. But here's today's scandal. Obama is actually rigging the job numbers to make them look better than they really are. Now, I've linked to you, I've posted a link below to an article by John Crudell that appeared in today's New York Post that spells out Obama's unemployment statistics manipulation, how he's rigged them. And Crudell goes into it in quite a bit of detail, but basically it comes down to this. If you go back and you look at the jobs reports from January and February of this year, early 2010, January and February, you will see that the initial jobs reports showed job losses. But then magically, a couple of months later, revised reports for those months, January and February, came in and showed slight increases for jobs for those months. So first, January and February showed job losses, but then the revisions came in and showed job increases. So how did that happen? Well, it turns out that almost all the job growth, minimal that it was even under Obama's reported numbers, it turns out that almost all this job growth was the result of hiring temporary census workers in the winter and the spring. The Census Bureau hired a little over 1 million temporary census workers in order to count people, in order to conduct the census. Now, I'm not quite sure why we need 1 million people to count 300 million people. It would seem like you would need fewer than that, but remember, this is the Obama economy. Now, these temporary census worker jobs are not really supposed to count as new jobs. They aren't real jobs because they only last a couple of months and they only exist once every 10 years. A job where you get to work once every 10 years for a couple of months is not really a job in my book. But Obama counts it as a job. But it gets worse than that. What the census has been doing is laying off census workers and then rehiring them again, and then counting the rehire as a new job without subtracting the job that was lost when that census worker was fired. So when a worker is hired and then fired and then hired again, that counts not as one job, but as 2 jobs created, according to the Obama math. Now, I linked to a couple of articles on that scandal below. So if you want to study this further, read those articles. But there's more. During the first 5 months of 2010, when we supposedly had some job growth according to Obama math, according to Obama's official reports, the Labor Department was pulling yet another statistical trick, another scam. The Labor Department, it turns out, included in its calculations 728,000 jobs that it thinks, or that it says it thinks, were created by newly formed companies, startup companies, that were beyond the ability of the Labor Department to survey. In other words, they didn't know whether or not these jobs existed. They don't even know if these new companies actually formed. They just kind of deemed these jobs to be there. So that's 728,000 additional jobs that the Labor Department, the Obama Labor Department, counts, but they can't really prove that they ever existed or were ever created, or even if these new businesses actually formed or if they got off the ground, because the Labor Department has no ability to track those. But we know from other statistics that the small business sector has been contracting dramatically during this recession and has been shedding jobs, has been losing jobs. So the chances that these new companies that supposedly started up, that created these 728,000 jobs, that the chances that this actually occurred is pretty much nil. There are no small businesses that are forming in this economy, in this Obama economy, or there are very few. The reason that small businesses are not forming is because of all of Obama's new banking regulations. The banks can't lend money to small businesses anymore. because of all these Obama regulations. So there's no capital for small businesses to start up. And I'm going to get into that in a lot more detail in another rant. The point here is that Obama's job numbers are fiction. Total fiction. Even if Obama's job numbers were true, they would still be pathetic. But the real job numbers, the real economic numbers, are even worse than Obama's pathetic economic numbers. Obama right now is really just pulling a page out of the old communist playbook. Remember when the Soviet Union would report a 10% annual GNP growth? And then the Soviet Union suddenly collapsed because there really was no economy? The Soviet Union, when you think about it, was really just one big Potemkin village. A Potemkin village is just a village of facades, kind of like a movie set, made for show. It's not a real village. It's just fronts of houses and stores designed to fool people into thinking that there is a real town there. And that's what the Soviet Empire was. It was a Potemkin empire. There was no there. It was fiction. And that's exactly what Obama is doing to us right now. Creating one big Potemkin village of lies in an effort to fool us. He wants to fool us with these phony economic numbers. He's wrecked the economy, but he wants to present this phony facade, this Potemkin village. He wants to trick America into thinking his economic plan of spend America into bankruptcy is working. He hopes he can fool us, at least through the 2010 congressional elections. Obama is the great deceiver. Obama is the big liar. Literally nothing he says can be believed. When Obama tells the truth, it's an accident. The only time when Obama tells the truth is when it suits his political aims. I used to think Bill Clinton was dishonest, but Obama makes Bill Clinton look like honest Abraham Lincoln by comparison. Obama's economic numbers are pure fiction, manufactured by his political operatives at the Labor Department. He tried to count temporary census workers as new jobs that he created. Then he tried firing the census worker, rehiring that worker, and counting that as 2 jobs created. Then he tried counting jobs that the government really can't count. Phantom jobs, created by phantom new business startups that everybody knows aren't occurring. He also had the idea of counting jobs he supposedly saved. Now, I guess that every job that exists, by that definition, is a job that Obama saved. At least under the Obama math, the Obama method of counting jobs. This guy really is the living embodiment of the emperor with no clothes. But here's the good news. I do have some good news. We no longer have to rely on the mainstream media to uncover this kind of information, to get this information out there. We have the internet. We have little podcasts like this that I'm doing right now. We have Rush Limbaugh, we have Sean Hannity, Mark Levin, Laura Ingraham, Fox News, and other conservative talk show hosts, and blogs and internet podcasters, and so on. If we only had the old-fashioned media monopoly of just 3 big TV networks, CBS, ABC, NBC, like we used to have in the old days, if we had to rely on these media sources for our information, we'd never hear about this. And Obama would be able to get away with all of his lies. But he can't get away with his lies anymore because we have all kinds of ways to get this information out to people, to get this information out to you. And that's why Obama is looking for ways to shut down conservative talk radio and get control of the internet. He wants a tax on blogs like mine. He wants to be able to regulate the internet. There's a bill now in Congress that's already passed a Senate panel. It's co-sponsored by Joe Lieberman, but it's Obama's bill, the Internet Kill Switch bill, which would actually allow Barack Obama to shut down the internet for 4 months in the event of a quote-unquote national emergency. So Obama has his kill switch bill in there. He wants to get control of the internet. He wants to regulate it. He wants to make it more difficult for podcasters and bloggers like me and like others to get this information out there. He wants to get control of the information. But that's a rant for another day. In the meantime, remember to vote in every election. Treat every election as though it might be the last election, because it really might be.